What started as a relaxing mountain getaway with lifelong friends turned into a nightmare when one shocking suggestion shattered trust, cracked friendships, and exposed a truth Mike never saw coming. He came for peace. He left questioning everything, including his marriage. Mike gripped the steering wheel a little tighter as the winding mountain road narrowed, but the tension in his body was slowly melting. The air was crisper up here, and with every mile that took them farther from Portland, the noise of daily life, work emails, commutes, bills, seemed to fade. Beside him, Lisa leaned her head back, eyes closed, a soft smile on her lips. She loved the quiet. They hadn't taken a real break in almost a year, and this weekend getaway was their chance to reset. 4 days in a cabin surrounded by forest, with their closest friends, Tom and Emma. No schedules, no obligations, just firewood, board games, wine, and laughter. At least that was the plan. Tom and Emma were more than friends. They were practically family, the kind of people you spent holidays with, the ones who helped you move, the ones you called first with big news. Over a decade of shared dinners, spontaneous road trips, inside jokes, and milestone celebrations had cemented their bond. This trip wasn't just a vacation. It was a celebration of that bond. The cabin was even more beautiful than the photos had promised. Perched on a hillside with a view of the tree-covered valley below, it was quiet, remote, and wrapped in early autumn fog. When the four of them stepped out of their cars, Mike could feel it. This place had a kind of silence that didn't demand conversation. Just being there felt like healing. The first night was filled with warmth. After Lisa whipped up a simple but delicious meal, they gathered by the fire, the conversation flowing as easily as the wine. Stories from past vacations came back in waves, like the time they got stuck on the highway in the middle of nowhere, or the ill-fated camping trip with a raccoon invasion. They laughed so hard it hurt. For the first time in months, Mike felt something close to peace. The next morning, they set out on a trail near the cabin. Emma led the way, animated as ever, turning every photo opportunity into a performance. She made everyone laugh, and even Tom, usually reserved, played along, smiling more than usual. Mike and Lisa lagged behind, walking hand in hand in silence. No need for words. They both felt it. The trip was exactly what they needed. That afternoon, Mike and Tom chopped firewood while the women prepped food. The rhythm of the axe, the clean snap of kindling, the easy silence between them. It felt good, simple, earned. By the second evening, the group had fallen into a rhythm. Dinner, wine, fire, laughter. It was one of those nights where time blurs and everything feels effortless. The conversation shifted from light to personal, then back again. At one point, Emma launched into a story about their chaotic honeymoon in Costa Rica, complete with bug bites and missed flights. Everyone was in stitches. Lisa, cheeks flushed from wine and laughter, followed up with a funny story of their own, about how Mike once locked them out of their house during a thunderstorm. Even Tom cracked up. The mood was perfect. Mike sat back, Lisa tucked beside him, and thought, this is the life. These are our people. This is real. But perfect moments are fragile. No one noticed the way Emma swirled her wine slower than usual, or the sideways glance she gave Lisa across the room. When she leaned forward, elbows on her knees, there was something in her smile that hadn't been there earlier. So, random thought, she said, voice light. What if we swapped partners for the night? The words dropped like a stone in a still lake. For a heartbeat, no one reacted. Then Mike let out a forced laugh, trying to disarm the tension. You're hilarious, Emma. But Tom didn't laugh. He stared at the floor. And Lisa? Lisa wasn't avoiding the question. She was smiling. Not the kind of smile Mike knew. Not a nervous one. Not fake. It was genuine and curious. Actually, she said, her voice playful but sincere, that could be kind of fun. Mike's heart stopped. He looked at her, expecting a wink, a laugh, a quick just kidding. But Lisa wasn't kidding. Her eyes had a spark, like a kid with a secret. Tom shifted on the couch, visibly uncomfortable. I don't know if that's a good idea, he muttered. But Emma leaned in, relentless. Just one night. No strings. Could be a fun memory, right? The fire crackled. No one moved. Mike's mind raced. He opened his mouth, searching for the right words. Any words to bring the moment back to normal. But all he could manage was, "Maybe it's time we all called it a night." His voice was calm. Too calm. He stood up, heart pounding, and walked toward the hallway. Behind him, Lisa's voice cut through the air, casual and deadly. "I mean, didn't you say you wanted to try something different in our relationship?" That's when Mike knew something had shifted, irreversibly. Mike closed the bedroom door behind him, but the weight of what had just happened pressed in with him. The walls of the cabin, once cozy and peaceful, now felt too close, like they were listening. He sat on the edge of the bed, hands clasped together, trying to steady his breathing. Lisa's words echoed in his mind. "Didn't you say you wanted to try something different?" It wasn't the suggestion itself. It was how easily she said it, how comfortably she leaned into an idea that had punched a hole in everything Mike thought they stood for. He hadn't come to the mountains to feel distant from his wife. He came to reconnect. But now that connection felt like a thread stretched to its breaking point. The door creaked open. Lisa stepped in quietly. Her expression was unreadable, cautious, maybe unsure. She stood there for a few seconds, waiting for him to say something, but he didn't. "Mike," she began softly, "please don't overthink this. I was just going along with the mood." He looked at her, not angry, just stunned. "Were you?" he asked. Because that didn't sound like a joke. Lisa walked closer but kept her distance. "It was meant to be playful. I don't know. Emma threw it out there and I guess I got caught up in the moment." Mike stood. "Caught up in what moment? That wasn't a joke. You looked like you meant it." "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said quickly. "But you did." He wasn't shouting. There was no drama, no scene. That made it worse. Lisa could hear the disappointment in his voice, the confusion. She had shaken something in him that might not come back. "I thought we were okay," he continued. "And then out of nowhere, you're up for, what? Swapping partners? Is that how you've been feeling and just never said anything?" Lisa shook her head. "No, I don't want to be with anyone else. That's not it." "Then what is it?" he asked. "Because I'm not following." She looked down at her hands. "Maybe I've been restless. Maybe I wanted to feel like we weren't just stuck in a loop. I wasn't thinking straight. I was trying to sound open, adventurous, like fun, Lisa." He blinked. "At the cost of our marriage?" She looked up, stung. "I didn't mean it that way." "That's the problem," Mike replied. "You didn't mean anything. You just threw it out there and waited to see what would happen. That's not how you treat someone you care about." Silence filled the room. Not the kind that offers peace, the kind that grows roots and stays. "I need some time," he said. "I need to figure out what this means. For me. For us." Lisa didn't argue. She stepped back and quietly left the room. The next morning, the cabin was unrecognizably tense. Mike sat at the kitchen table, sipping coffee without tasting it, staring at the tree line outside. The sun was out, but it didn't matter. Lisa walked in, eyes down, and sat across from him without a word. No apology, no small talk, just distance. Emma entered next, chipper as ever. "Good morning," she said brightly. She poured herself some coffee and added with a chuckle, "Wow, last night got intense, huh?" Mike didn't look at her. Lisa did, but her expression wasn't amused. Emma sipped her coffee, unaware or unwilling to acknowledge the atmosphere. Tom followed her in, quieter, uneasy. He kept his eyes on the floor. Mike stood up. "Tom, can we talk outside?" Tom nodded quickly. They stepped out onto the porch. The wind was steady. The view was wide, but none of it offered clarity. Mike got straight to it. "What happened last night was unacceptable." Tom nodded. "I know. I was stunned. I didn't see it coming." "But you didn't say anything," Mike said. "You just let it hang there." "I froze," Tom admitted. "I didn't agree with it. I didn't want it. But I didn't know how to respond." Mike looked him dead in the eyes. "I expected you to shut it down. Not for me, for Emma. Because that's what you do when someone you love is about to destroy something real." Tom rubbed the back of his neck. "You're right. I failed. I should have spoken up." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Mike added, I don't know what this means for me and Lisa. I don't even know what it means for the four of us. But I know we're not where we were yesterday. Tom nodded, eyes heavy. I'll talk to Emma. She needs to understand what this cost. Mike walked back inside without waiting for a reply. Later, Lisa sat alone in the bedroom, staring at the floor. She barely noticed when Mike returned and leaned against the doorframe. I talked to Tom, he said. He didn't know Emma would say that. He regrets not stopping it. Lisa nodded, but her shoulders tensed. Mike's voice was lower now, wearier. But that doesn't change what happened between us. She stood, took a step toward him. Mike, I know I messed up. I was trying to be something I thought you wanted. Spontaneous. Different. But I went about it the wrong way. He folded his arms. You didn't just go about it the wrong way. You didn't go about it with me. You jumped in with Emma's idea like you'd been waiting for someone else to say it first. I wasn't, she said quickly. It just caught me off guard. I didn't think. I didn't even mean it. But you said it. Lisa hesitated, then reached for his hand, but stopped short. I know I broke something last night, she whispered, but I haven't given up on us. I won't. Even if you need space, even if you're angry, I just want you to know I'm still here. Mike exhaled slowly. He didn't take her hand, but he didn't leave either. I need time, he said. I don't know how to look at you and not hear that sentence, but I'll try. For now, that's all I can promise. She nodded, tears close but held back. As he stepped out again, Lisa sat back down, alone. The sound of the door closing was quiet, but it rang louder than anything else that day. Mike didn't return to the bedroom that night. He stayed in the guest room, unable to bring himself to lie beside Lisa. Sleep was shallow. His mind wouldn't shut off. He kept hearing her voice, casual and confident. Maybe it would be fun. It looped like a line from a bad dream, except it wasn't a dream. It was her choice, her voice, her idea, and it had cracked something inside him. The next morning, the silence in the cabin was louder than any argument. Tom and Emma avoided eye contact. Lisa moved quietly, trying not to disturb the balance. Mike stood by the window for a long time, watching the woods. The peace of the place now felt like a trap, a forced stillness in a space that had become emotionally unlivable. Emma, as always, broke the silence first. So, she said with a smirk, everyone feeling more normal today? Mike turned around slowly, looked at her, and said nothing. Lisa glanced up, visibly uncomfortable. Emma, maybe now's not the time. Emma looked confused. What? I'm just saying, last night was weird, but no harm done, right? It was just a wild suggestion. No harm done? Mike repeated, his voice low but direct. Emma froze, finally catching on. Lisa stood. Emma, it wasn't harmless. It wasn't funny. And it didn't just affect you and Tom. You started something you didn't bother to consider the consequences of. Emma's smile faded, but she didn't respond right away. She looked at Tom, who wouldn't meet her gaze. Then she sat down, more subdued than anyone had seen her since they arrived. Lisa turned to Mike. Can we talk? He didn't answer immediately. Then he nodded once and headed for the porch. Outside, the morning air was cooler, the sky overcast. Lisa followed, leaving the others behind. They stood for a moment without speaking. I've been trying to find the right thing to say, she began, but I keep coming back to the same thing. I was wrong. Mike looked straight ahead. Yeah, you were, Lisa swallowed. I wanted to be someone I thought you wanted. Adventurous, open, not boring, but that wasn't real, and it wasn't respectful. Mike didn't answer. She continued. I thought trying something new meant pushing the envelope. I never stopped to ask whether the envelope was already sealed for a reason. Mike turned to her. Do you even understand why it hurt? Yes, she said quietly. Because I made you feel like our relationship wasn't enough. He nodded. That's exactly it. It made me wonder if I've been blind, if I missed signs, if you've been unhappy for a long time. I haven't, she said quickly, but maybe I've been restless. And I confused that with dissatisfaction. Mike crossed his arms, trying to keep control. You don't experiment with something that matters. You don't test the foundation of your marriage like it's a game. Lisa was quiet. I don't even know if I trust you anymore, he said blunt. Not because I think you'll cheat, but because I don't know where your line is anymore. And if I don't know that, how do I move forward? Lisa felt the weight of every word, and for once, she didn't try to justify herself. Then let me rebuild that trust, however long it takes. Mike looked at her, searching for something. He didn't find it. Not yet. I don't know, he said. I'm not ready to promise anything. And he walked away, leaving Lisa on the porch, staring into the distance. Inside, Tom finally confronted Emma. They stood apart from the others, near the fireplace where it all started. What were you thinking? He asked. Emma crossed her arms. It was just a suggestion. It wasn't just anything, he said. You said it in front of people we love. You embarrassed me. You hurt them. And now we're stuck here pretending it's fine. Emma looked genuinely confused. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I just thought it'd spark a conversation. Shake things up. Tom's voice was sharper than usual. That's the problem. You thought, but not about the people around you. Not about me. She opened her mouth to reply, then closed it again. For once, Emma had nothing clever to say. I don't know what happens after this, Tom continued, but we're going to have to rethink everything. Because if this is your version of fun, I don't know if we want the same things anymore. Emma nodded slowly. I messed up. Yeah, Tom said. You did. That afternoon, Mike left the cabin and hiked the trail alone. No camera, no conversation, no destination. Just movement. He needed space, real space, to think. The beauty of the woods was still there, but it no longer brought comfort. It was just scenery now. He found himself at the overlook from their first hike, the spot with the perfect view of the lake below. He stood there, arms folded, replaying their life together. Their wedding, the inside jokes, late-night talks, quiet Sundays. It all felt so far away, not gone, but buried under one careless moment. He didn't know what the next step was, but he knew what the last step had done, and going back to before wasn't an option. Back at the cabin, Lisa waited. She had said what she needed to. Now all she could do was give him space and hope that the man who once promised to love her through anything would see this as a mistake, not a verdict. By the time Mike returned from his hike, the sun was low, casting long shadows through the trees. The tension inside the cabin hadn't eased. It had settled. No one spoke when he stepped in. Lisa stood at the kitchen counter, rinsing a cup that didn't need rinsing. Tom sat on the sofa, staring blankly at the fireplace, unlit now. Emma was nowhere in sight. Mike took off his jacket, hung it by the door, and looked around. Where's Emma? He asked. Tom looked up, hesitant. She went for a walk. Said she needed to clear her head. Mike nodded. Maybe that's a good idea. He didn't mean it cruelly. It was just a fact. Lisa approached him slowly. Can we talk? He hesitated, then nodded and followed her into the bedroom. She closed the door behind them, not out of secrecy, but to separate this conversation from the others that had already happened. I know you're still upset, she began. He sat on the edge of the bed. I'm not just upset, Lisa. I'm unsettled. She sat beside him but kept space between them. I understand, but I want to try to rebuild what we had. I don't expect you to trust me immediately. I just don't want this to be the end. Mike looked at her, measuring his words. When I married you, I thought we had the same definition of loyalty. I thought we knew what respect looked like in a relationship. Last night didn't just throw that into question, it blew it apart. Lisa was quiet, letting him speak. I'm not angry because of Emma, he said. I'm not even angry because you laughed. I'm angry because you meant it, and you tried to play it off like it wasn't a big deal. That moment showed me you were ready to explore something without me, until you saw my face. Lisa's throat tightened. You're right. I did react in the moment, and I didn't consider what it would mean to you. I didn't consider what it said about us. You didn't consider me, he said plainly. She nodded. That's the part I regret the most. They sat in silence for a while. I keep thinking, Mike said, if this hadn't happened, we'd be sitting out there, drinking wine, laughing, maybe planning the next trip, and I'd still be believing we're in sync. But now I don't even know if we want the same kind of life anymore. Lisa turned to him. We do. I do. I just got caught in this stupid idea that we needed something dramatic to feel alive again. But that's not true. That's not what I want. I want us. I want the version of us that was enough before all this. Mike shook his head. I don't know if that version still exists. You said what you said because something inside you was already disconnected. I didn't realize how far I drifted until it was too late, she said, eyes cast down. But I've been thinking a lot, and I realize now that it wasn't boredom I was feeling. It was fear. Fear of what? Of becoming invisible, of getting so comfortable we stop seeing each other. That's not your fault. It's something I should have talked about. Instead, I listened to Emma, who treats relationships like experiments. Mike processed that for a moment. I can understand fear, he said, but using someone else's dysfunction as inspiration? That's dangerous. Lisa didn't argue. She nodded. Then she looked at him. Do you still want this marriage? He didn't answer right away. I don't know if I want this version of it, he said, but I'm not ready to walk away either. That has to mean something. It does, she said. It means we still have a chance. Meanwhile, Emma had returned, sitting quietly on the back deck, far from the rest. Tom joined her eventually, taking the seat beside her with an air of reluctance. You okay? She asked. He didn't answer for a moment. No, not really, he said. Emma nodded slowly, waiting for the lecture. But it didn't come. Just the silence. Tom finally turned to her. Do you understand what you did back there? Not just to Mike and Lisa, but to me? She frowned. I thought we were all close enough to talk openly. Openly, he repeated. You suggested we swap partners in front of the man Lisa married. You blindsided everyone. Emma scoffed lightly. It was just talk. That's the problem, he said. You throw out ideas without considering the consequences. You joke about things that other people take seriously. And then you wonder why nobody laughs with you. She leaned forward, suddenly frustrated. So I'm the villain now? No, Tom said. But you're the reason we're all sitting in a minefield of tension instead of enjoying the trip we planned for months. And you don't even seem to feel bad about it. Emma looked at him, really looked. I do, she said finally. I was trying to be provocative, shake things up. I didn't realize the impact. But I see it now, and I get that I screwed up. Tom nodded. Good, because it wasn't just Mike and Lisa who got hurt. I saw a side of you I didn't like, and I need to figure out what that means for us. Emma leaned back. Do you still want us? I don't know, Tom admitted. We're not married, but I expected basic respect. That's the bare minimum. She didn't respond, and for the first time since the trip started, Emma stayed quiet. That night, the four of them shared one last awkward dinner. No wine, no jokes, just food and the occasional glance. Lisa and Mike sat together, but their hands never touched. Tom and Emma ate in silence. The warmth between them dulled. Afterward, Mike stood and addressed everyone. This weekend didn't go the way we planned, he said, and I think we can all agree it brought up things we didn't expect. I'm not sure what happens from here, but I need space to figure things out. We'll head back first thing in the morning. No one objected. Lisa looked at him, eyes steady. She wasn't crying anymore. She wasn't pleading, but her expression was clear. I'm not giving up. Mike saw it. He didn't respond, but he didn't look away either. They left early the next morning. The car ride back was quiet, but not cold. Mike drove while Lisa sat beside him, her hands resting in her lap. No music played. No one reached for the radio. The trees passed by, the mountains receding into the rear view. The silence between them wasn't loaded with hostility anymore. It was filled with thought. When they reached the outskirts of Portland, Mike finally spoke. I'm going to stay at my brother's place for a few days, he said without looking at her. I need time. Lisa nodded. I understand. She didn't argue, didn't beg, just accepted it for what it was. Space, not abandonment. Mike wasn't disappearing. He was trying to breathe. 3 days later, they met at a quiet cafe they used to visit years ago. It wasn't a symbolic choice, just familiar ground. Mike arrived first, already seated when Lisa walked in. I'm glad you came, he said as she sat across from him. I'm glad you asked. They ordered coffee, but neither touched their cups right away. I've done a lot of thinking, Mike said. Not just about that night, but about everything that led to it. Lisa nodded, waiting. I realized I haven't been checking in with you the way I used to. I've been assuming we're fine because we're not fighting or because life is moving forward, but that's not the same as being connected. I felt that too, Lisa said. But instead of talking to you, I tried to fix it by pretending to be something else, something looser, more adventurous, because that's what I thought you wanted. I didn't realize I was creating distance. Mike leaned forward. I don't need a version of you. I just need you. The person who laughs at my dumb jokes, who knows how to calm me down with a sentence. Not someone trying to prove she's exciting. Lisa smiled faintly. And I don't need you to be perfect. I need you to tell me when something's wrong instead of carrying it alone. They paused. This time the silence between them felt collaborative. Something was being rebuilt. Not rushed, not forced, but acknowledged. Mike finally said, I'm not over it yet, but I don't want this to end. Lisa's voice cracked slightly. Neither do I. He took a slow breath. If we do this, if we really want to fix things, it has to be honest. Counseling, real conversations, boundaries. No pretending things are fine when they're not. I'm in, she said, all the way. Later that week, Mike met with Tom for lunch. It was awkward at first, but necessary. I just wanted to say I'm not holding anything against you, Mike said. I was hurt, still am, but I know Emma's words weren't yours. Tom sighed in relief. Thanks. I felt useless in that moment. I should have spoken up. You froze. I get it. But going forward, let's just be real with each other. No more sweeping things under the rug because it's easier. Tom nodded. Agreed? What about you and Emma? Mike asked. We're on a break, Tom said plainly. She's not a bad person, but we've been operating on very different wavelengths. This opened my eyes. Mike didn't judge. He simply listened. You think you'll get back together? He asked. Tom shrugged. Maybe, but if we do, it'll have to be from the ground up. Weeks passed. Mike and Lisa started couples therapy. The first few sessions were tense, painful even, but they stayed with it. They stopped trying to win arguments and started trying to understand each other's silences. They began doing small things together again, cooking dinner without distractions, taking evening walks, talking without screens between them. It wasn't always smooth. Some nights, Mike still felt the sting of that memory. But he noticed something important. Lisa never avoided it. She didn't try to erase what had happened. She addressed it, owned it, and kept showing up. That made all the difference. One evening, while watching a movie on their couch, Lisa turned to him and said, I don't think I ever thanked you. For what? For not walking away when you had every reason to. Mike looked at her. I didn't want a reason. I wanted a way forward. Back at the cabin, time passed without them. The chairs on the porch remained where they'd been left. The fireplace sat cold. The silence returned. But this time, it wasn't hiding anything. It was just quiet again. Emma never returned there. Tom did once, alone. He stood on the porch, looked out at the trees, and thought about what kind of partner he wanted to be, and what kind he needed. He wasn't angry anymore, just clearer. And that clarity, while painful, was also freeing.